just abiding by the promise that I made at the beginning. So let's kick it off. Let me just present here, put the presentation area. So we have it. And don't worry, as we go through different breakout sessions, we'll have some time to also have some little breaks. All right, so today we're going to be talking about Kanban Fundamentals. And we're going to be discussing this because as a community, we are interested in learning everything that is associated to agility. Yes, and agility goes beyond certain process frameworks, such as the Scrum. Yes, we discussed previously that within the Agile community, there's a strong association with agility and the process framework called Scrum. Yes, but as we have seen throughout the different sessions that we've had, actually agility cannot be reduced to a process framework. Being an agile organization or even having an agile mindset goes beyond doing a Scrum, okay? Hence, this is why today we are going to start exploring another tool, okay, for agility, which is actually Kanban. Yes. Now, this is only another of the tools, yeah, that can support the development of agility. And I will say this because, as we've mentioned in other sessions, when we talk about agility, we're talking about from the business approach. If we give it a business approach, okay, a business approach, very important. We're talking about basically a management practice, a resource technology, and a business capability. And this is fundamental to understand, especially in today's world when a lot of organizations are going through digital transformation. Because this means that agility, more than being the use of a process framework like Kanban or Scrum, etc., is actually about the capability that an organization have to be customer-centric, nimble and fast, voracious in its learning, okay? Its capability of have unbounded collaboration, its capability of also being able to take calculated risk and build upon that new products and new services, as well as integrate, okay, with the emerging technologies and fast changing needs and market, fast changing customer needs and market developments. Yes, so just going to that deep, from that deep approach, just remember that then being agile is just beyond doing a Scrum or doing Kanban. Yes, so this is just one more tool. So we're going to be very focused on the fundamentals. So as change makers or as transformation leaders or as delivery leaders or whichever role you have, you're able to materialize agility in your organization truly. Yes, so let's begin. Kanban. So as you know, we're Growth Vikings. We are an initiative that seeks to provide access to free knowledge in agility because we believe that agility can actually unlock people's and organization potential. Hence, it has to be available for everyone through tools and practices so we can actually build better organization, better working ways, and actually unlock organizational growth. Now, I will begin by asking you, what do you think I put in the in the Kanban session? Some party people in the bottom. Why would that be? Any idea? Any idea why I put by the Kanban some party people in the bottom? Let's see. Anyone can share any thoughts in chat? Let's see. Okay, so someone, no problem. I'm recording the session for those of you. Any idea why we have some party people in the bottom of the Kanban? All right, let's see if we can give you some idea of it, okay, in just a second. So we will see that actually Kanban seeks to create better cross-functional relationships between team members. at the end. Yeah. So it is it is a solution that actually emerged from a person that was a manager himself, and he was seeking to see how he could improve better the relationships between his team members and help them not being overloaded with work and actually have a balance in their life. Yes. So he worked at Motorola and at other enterprises. And I think some of you already know that I'm talking about David J. Anderson. Yes. So it is a very clear endeavor, the one that he had from the beginning. Now, what is Kanban? For those of you that don't have too much time and got to get going, this is what I want you to take away. This is the fundamental. When we talk about Kanban with capital K, okay, we are talking about an evolutionary change method. And let's listen to each of those words. Evolutionary change method. I'm not talking about disruptive. I'm not talking about radical change method. I'm not talking about architectural change method. I'm talking about evolutionary, incremental change method. Right? So there's already there a difference. That utilizes a Kanban, which we will see that it's a signaling card. That's what Kanban means, okay? Or a pull system, okay? It utilizes visualization and other tools that we're going to talk about, like work in progress limits, to catalyze the introduction of lean ideas into technology development, IT operations, and actually in knowledge work in general, because nowadays Kanban is seeking to support knowledge workers, whichever your industry, you can use the Kanban. So Kanban enables you to achieve context-specific process optimization. And this is very different from what we have discussed when we see Scrum, for example. We're going to see that actually Kanban relies on value stream mapping, which at the end is context-specific process, okay? And by doing this, it seeks to optimize with minimal resistance the change and keep a sustainable piece for workers involved. What does the sustainable piece for work involve? In the words of David J. Anderson in the first chapter of his book, means people shouldn't be working more than 40 hours a week. People should be able to take breaks. People shouldn't be stressed out. Yes, they shouldn't be overburned. That's what basically means. Yes, so it's a method that wants to optimize process so people can work in the time that they have to work and not beyond that without having any psychological stress or issues. Okay? So very important, the sustainable pace, which is also associated with our Agile manifestos, right? So that's one of the principles that we have within the Agile manifesto. Now, what is the promise that Kanban has for those that are approaching or exploring it? Well, the promise or its value proposition is, through Kanban, you can improve productivity, predictability, customer satisfaction, reduce your delivery times, which at the end generates more collaborative work and more functional working relationships across the organization. As you can see, these are inputs to what's the fundamental aim, and that is working relationships across the organization. And that's very interesting because that says a lot about what is the telos, the end of this approach. It's not just this customer satisfaction, it's not predictability. No. It's actually working relationships across the organization. So that's very interesting. All right. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover 4 main things. First, your introduction to Kanban. So you get out of here and you're able to tell others a little bit what are the values around Kanban, what are some of the principles, what are some practices that you can just have an educated, simple discussion about Kanban. Yeah? So just to set the expectations. Second, we're going to identify what are some main work items that we can associate to Kanban and that is important for you to have a basic knowledge of. Third, we're going to discuss Kanban boards. but we're going to talk about them properly, okay? We're going to see that there's many Trello boards that say that they're Kanban boards that are not Kanban boards, okay? So we're going to understand what is a proper Kanban board, yes, and why those work and the others don't. And then finally, we're going to close up with a key element in Kanban, okay, which are work in progress limits and actually the pull system. Because we're going to see that you can have a Scrum approach and still not have a pull system. And that's going to be important for us because we're going to learn that pull systems allows us not to have overwork, to manage better our capacity, to improve our productivity, and hence be able to manage or have more control of the delivery time, of the customer satisfaction, and the quality of the product. So we're going to learn that it's important, okay? By the way, anyone who wants to say anything, you jump in and you say it, okay? Within the community, we basically destroy ideas, okay? We talk about them, we question them, we interrupt. So be unpolite. It's actually received in this session, okay? This is your space. So do whatever you want. You can hop in, ask, interrupt, okay? Do that. All right. So as we were mentioning, the first thing that we want to kind of like go through is what can we understand by Kanban, yeah? And as we mentioned before, it is chain method. Very important for you to understand is that key for this chain method is that it seeks to make work visible, okay? And it seeks for work to follow what you call a pull system rather than a push system. And we're gonna see immediately an example of it, okay? So don't worry, but keep it there in your mind. And the other thing is that it uses key concepts such as work in progress limits, okay, to help the work be more smooth and sustainable. Yes, it was created actually by David I always say my English, David J. Anderson, okay? So he is the creator, he's one of the creators of Kanban, and he's one of the main references. As you can see, Kanban has some fundamental principles, practices, and as we will see in just a minute, it also has some fundamental values, okay? When we talk about the principles that guide Kanban, we can describe that there is mainly two principles, two sets or groups of principles, what you call change management principle and what you call service delivery principles, okay? When we talk about change management principles, Kanban its fundamental, in using the organization as it is now. It doesn't want to create an organization. No. The basic for change is the organization as it is now. It doesn't create a new organization and then seeks to adjust the organization to that model. No. It says the organization as it is now with its processes, let's see it, and let's start with the organization as it is now and with its processes, its practices, and let's try to work towards incremental change. So that's one thing. It starts with the organization as it is now. Second, it agrees to pursue the improvements in increments. Now, it's not radical change, people. Okay, so here the proposal is not that you're going to have radical change or what some other people call disruptive change. No, this is incremental. Okay, this is why it's meant here with evolutionary also. It increments and it is based in the feedback loops and in the learning, so it evolves. Yes, and it's fundamented on the acts of leadership at every level. Okay. So it's not only led by the product owner, by the Scrum Master, by the Agile coach, by the developer team. No. Kanban says that for Kanban to work, it requires acts of leadership at every stage. Okay, so there's a big difference there. Okay, Then the second set of principles, which you can see here, is what you call the service delivery principles, okay? And basically in here, Kanban acknowledges 3 service delivery principles. The first one is to understand and focus on your customer needs and expectations. So this makes it also a customer-centric approach, hence pretty agile, okay? Second, manage the work and let people self-organize around it. Those of you that have worked with Scrum and other agile methods, this might not sound new. But once again, as part of the agile tradition, yes, let people be autonomous, let them develop their mastery, you know, let them self-organize as a team. Yes, so the framework encourages, promotes, and allows this to happen. And then third, evolve policies to improve customer and business outcomes. And this is very interesting because Kanban has more of a process management approach, right? In a sense, like it doesn't let to the side policies. It actually integrates policies, okay? And sees policies as a key delivery service principle to actually satisfy customer and business outcomes. Yeah, so very important, the role of policies. Second, Kanban doesn't only have this change management and service delivery principles, but also has what we call some practices. And that's the everyday execution of Kanban. That is the everyday making of Kanban. And what are those main practices? Okay, so you can see in the area of the graph some of them that I've shown. So first is making work visual. And Kanban make work visual through the boards, okay? And we're going to see some examples of Kanban boards. Second, it limits work in progress, and it's fundamental, okay? And we're going to see in just a second an example of why this is so important, okay? Third, it manages flow, okay? And that means by actually limiting the work, it allows and identifying the value streams and mapping it, it allows us to see how work operates, what are the stages of work, and how what we deliver is in those stages, okay? At what stage is what we're delivering, yes. So it allows us to manage flow also because it increases predictability, okay, of the work, and also allows us to manage the capacity available to deliver that work. As you can see, the fourth item is that it makes policies explicit, okay? Everyone has a clear understanding of what is the done policy, what is the work in progress policy, what is the active or in progress policy. So everyone is just clear what everything means, which actually in a Scrum we see many times too, right? Like having a clear definition of done or clear success criteria, but in here it goes beyond, okay? Feedback loops, very important, is another practice within the Kanban community. So we're going to have spaces for the teams to have their daily Scrum and just overview or their daily meeting, because they're not called daily Scrums, okay? There's just a daily meeting. And in that daily meeting, they might overview how the work is flowing and explore together if there's any bottleneck or not. They have this opportunity. And then finally, improves and evolves. So it has a practice of retrospecting, you know, what went wrong, what went right, what we can do better. So that allows Kanban to integrate and generate improvements. All right. So as you see with only one image, you already have an idea of what are the principles, how you can group them, and what are the key practices that should be embedded in the everyday or in the working ways of your teams. Now, I share with you here an example so we can start getting an understanding of Kanban, of the East Garden Imperial Palace. And anyone knows why I'm putting this here by any chance? Any idea of why the East Gardens Imperial Palace is here in our Kanban presentation? So I will tell you. Let's see, we have here maybe something. Come here, come here. Because people will have more free time and finish work early. The way work in the garden is made. They implement Kanban. Yes, that's correct, Raj. But also, you know what? I like this other part, like the free time and finish work early, right? So actually, Kanban does help with that too. So thank you, Raj. And that's correct. In the East Gardens of the Imperial Palace, they implement Kanban. And what does that mean? When you enter the East Garden, you're given a card, okay? And you can stay as long as you want in the garden. And once you're out of the garden, you give back your card, right? So you ask, well, why? What do the cards represent? You know, like, is it for criminality? Is it just to track the tourists? If it's so, it's not such an efficient system, right? Actually, the cards, there's a set number of cards, okay? No more than an amount. I don't know right now the specific number of cards. I don't know if it's close to 200 or something cards, but it's a fixed amount of cards. And only that amount of people can enter East Garden, okay? That means that's the capacity that East Garden taking. Imagine, I don't remember the exact number of cars. I will look it up and put it in your mural so you have it. But imagine that it's 250 cars. No more than 250 people are in the garden. So it is a great example because the Kanban, the car, allows to signal clearly the capacity of East Gardens. But it also allows to protect East Garden from, you know, food deterioration, for being overcrowded, for generating too much notice and less of a good experience for those that go to East Garden. Yes, and it allows to keep East Gardens tidy, clean. Yes, so it's a beautiful example because it allows us to see how important it is to, one, be clear of what is the capacity that it's available. Two, of the importance of making that capacity salient, clear, okay, which the car allows. And third, yes, abiding and complying with the method. The third thing is that it in its base is a pull system because no one enters the garden until someone leaves the garden. Yes, if I leave the garden, I give my card, and with that card, someone else can enter. But if I don't do that, no one else can enter. Imagine at work every day, because we're all here practitioners, how many times work enters your sprint even when you haven't finished the work that you had planned? How different would that be actually if it was a policy and a general agreement within the organization that, sorry, I won't work on that until the work until the work that we're capable of doing, yes, is done. Yes, so I don't move in my sprint a car until I get out of my sprint another car. Yes, so this allows to, one, generate higher predictability. Second, generate a better awareness of what is the capacity that teams have. Many times, I'm not going to say it, but many times third parties, other teams, executives, etc., actually push a lot of work into the teams, unaware of the team's capacity, because there are not working limits agreed and enforced in the organization. A lot of teams keep taking that work without even finishing the other work. And then we have teams that are overworked, that have higher lead time, and that sometimes leave too much things in progress. Yes? So this is exactly what Kanban seeks to protect the teams from. And this is why many practitioners of Scrum actually started to integrate work in progress limits for their teams, because they identify that actually in a Scrum, if we don't set work in progress limits, sometimes we might be having teams that are receiving additional work that wasn't planned into the sprint, and hence then this impacts our delivery time. This is why some Scrum teams, even though they do all the Scrum as they should, they are not improving customer satisfaction, they are not reducing lead time, because at the end is a Scrum infrastructure working as a push system, which doesn't reduce delivery times, right? So this is why it's so important, this case of Kanban, right? So I'm actually gonna make this concept so clear, because if there is something that I want you to walk away today with, it's like basically being a work in progress limits champion, as I say. So I'm going to show you this very quickly here. What do I mean with this important, and why Kanban is amazing when brings this back to us to be aware of it. So let's just admit Robert here that he's coming in. So you're going to see a very simple example of why we have to do it.
A work in progress, or WIP limit, is any mechanism designed to help your team limit the number of items you're working on concurrently. The idea is that the fewer items being worked on, the faster those selected items get.
Let me just make sure that we just put it also a little bit fast, because we have to go through some material, yeah? So just to see.
And that's kind of the interesting part. Actually, by limiting work in progress, you're going to end up getting more work done over time. I'm Max, a product marketing manager on Jira Cloud, and WIP limits are a lifesaver for me, because I always want to say yes to new projects. When I have a WIP limit, I have a great excuse to say no. Now, my goal for this video is to share how WIP limits are much more than an excuse to say no. And I want to do that through a demonstration. First, I just want to remind you to subscribe to our channel for a full conversation about Kanban, more than just the WIP limits we're talking about today. Now, let's get into the demonstration. I'm here with Sasha. Sasha is a valued member of our development team as a designer. Sasha's known for getting stuff done. If you have something for Sasha to do, you can get it done. Even sometimes 2 things at a time. Easy. Let's say things are getting a little chaotic. 3 things at a time. It's able to catch 2. Let's see what happens when you don't limit work in progress. All right. So Sasha was able to catch 1 of the many, many, many things that we had to do. Now this is
all right. So
being worked on.
Maybe that makes the point. I just wanted to make, so even this is not that we want an excuse to say no, we don't want to work. It's just that if you are within an organization and you're really trying to lead in a sense that you want them to work better, to unlock better their potential for them to deliver customer satisfaction, deliver amazing products, and also as talent achieve their potential, you got to remind them that they won't be able to catch all the balls, right? So we have to actually make sure that we are aware of what is the capacity that we have, because that will help us actually achieve what we want. So it's not an excuse to say no, it's actually a tool for us to be more aware of what are our capabilities and to generate better flow within the organization. So what are some of the emerging behaviors with Kanban? Why are some people embracing Kanban, and Kanban has become something used within the Agile community? Well, as you see, it is tailored to the different process of an organization because it allows to map them. Second, it allows to decouple cadences, okay? So it's iterational development. It allows work schedule by cost delay, which is also pretty useful. It allows to optimize value according to the classes of services because it generates process uniquely to those services. Okay. It helps to manage the risk and the capacity allocation too. As I mentioned, it pushes the organization to think about its limits. Yes, and that's very important. Then it allows tolerance for process experimentation because constantly you are experimenting as you develop that product or that service. And it allows you to have more of a quantitative management, yeah, of it. So this is why it has to spread a lot around several organizations, even those that are using a Scrum. So this is why you have heard Kanban Scrum, like a Scrum that still have a Kanban. All right. So with that first part, identify, let's go very quickly to what we call key working items for Kanban. So as I mentioned, in the case of the park, something key was that we knew what the capacity of the park was. For example, I said, imagine that the capacity is 250 cars, right? So there was an assumption there. This is the capacity, yeah? So as you start Kanban, it is actually very important for you to learn what is the capacity of your team and what is the demand that your team receives from the organization. So this makes it very different because this means that you must know what is the demand of work, or you must calculate, you must estimate, you must think of, okay, what is the demand of work that the team receives. Okay, and especially what is that demand of work that adds value, what is the demand of work that doesn't add value, okay, what is that demand of work that ultimately aligned with that team's goal. Then it also means that you got to be able to identify what are large work items or size the work. Okay, so this is what you sometimes hear, that's an extra large, or that you use. For example, there's different methods for sizing work, right? For example, the t-shirt sizing is one, but it involves that you have to size the work. So it's not only knowing the demand, it's not only knowing your capacity, you know, what's the capacity that your team have, but it's also knowing what is the size of the work. And then finally is also registering that work or putting it explicitly and in an agreed way between the teams, which builds transparency through the Kanban cards. So what do we mean with the demand analysis? Okay. From a qualitative approach, it means one, understanding different types of work involved, and that will help the delivery of that product or that service or that specific task that you guys have in the week. Second, understanding what are the different sources of work that will help you prepare for, shape, and manage that demand. Okay. And then third, and I put it here as a checklist because I'm you know, something that I like. I lived in Germany some years, and I love that checklist makes things so easy sometimes, like some things for you to think. They're not the only questions that you should ask yourself, but they're a starting point. And then third, understanding why the work is needed. So because then it allows you to see if it's really value adds, a work that adds value to what you guys really have to deliver, or is a non-added value work, right? So that allows you to assess really what is the true demand of work that your team has, right? From a qualitative approach. From a quantitative approach, okay, demand analysis means that you got to understand what is the quantity of work involved, okay, at granular, you know, how many hours would it take you, like how many days does that kind of imply as a team. So you got to have these discussions within the team, right? Also understanding the gaps, okay, between the actual capacity that you have today and what that work requires. All right. And then finally, using current statistics on what is the work that you have delivered previously, that is currently in progress, that is waiting, to then decide what comes in. So as you see, it requires more steps for you, okay? As you start your Kanban, you must know what is the demand and what is the capacity that you have, okay? How does usually a Kanban card can look? And there's many different Kanban cards, and I will actually add more links so you can see all the different Kanban cards that there are. But I wanted just to pick you one case of my teams, right? So usually a Kanban card is best practice that, you know, you have just a pretty clear title, okay? It has a description of what done is going to be for the case of that card. It's important for it to have a deadline associated, who owns it and who's the responsible, and also if it's possible, you know, what is the area of work that it has impact on. You know, if you have epics and themes, it's also pretty useful that you kind of like have that. Yes. So as you see here, I just put you some tips there, and also make sure that the work is pretty like oriented towards a deliverable, something tangible, yes, that you guys are going to achieve, something that actually shows the work, right? So as you see, oriented toward that tangible deliverable, a clear definition of what's being done, related to key themes or epics that are within the organization, with a good prioritization. There's different prioritization techniques. For example, the MOSQ is one, but there are many others. A clear deadline, who's the responsible, and very important, an overview of the complexity. And as we know, some teams use the story points to signal this, other teams use other methods. The important thing is please just try to show the complexity. Even t-shirt site can help you with this, okay? So very important, in order to work with Kanban, you need these working items. You need to know your demand, you need to know your capacity, you need to put a clear description of the work, and you need to make sure that it is clear. Okay. Now, before we go to the boards, we're just going to make a very quick interruption here, because we're going to divide ourselves into some breakout rooms. Okay. And I was wondering if we have today's facilitators here. Do we have Bansi, Nish, and Guy here?
Hi, Natasha. I'm here. Wasim.
Yeah, we are here.
All right, you're here. Awesome. So what we're going to do, guys, is that we're going to divide you in basically 3 teams. And what you're going to do is just actually have a chance to meet other members of the community. Yes, because you're here also to build connections. It's so great to have a peer group that you can ask if you have questions for work, etc. And then you're going to go to the first activity part, which is for what we discussed right now. What are some of the key elements that you can associate to Kanban? And also be open, because a lot of members of our communities are actually Kanban gurus themselves, or they have done Kanban themselves. So they will be able to introduce new elements that I might not be saying at the moment. Okay. So I will just divide you then. We'll stop sharing here very quickly, and we'll divide you in 3 different breakout rooms. Okie dokie. So let me just divide you here. Okay. And let me see how many of you are. Okay, yes. So it's 26 of you. So let me just create here very quickly. I'll make sure that you have one of our facilitators in your room. So I will start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Then we got one first group, then we got guys group. Okie dokie. I can put Nish there. There we go. And Nish, I got you here, right?
Yeah.
Super. And let's assign you your teams. Yes. So what we're basically going to have is top 7 minutes. It will go very fast for you guys to kind of achieve the following thing. Is like in the mural boards, kind of like fill out what are some key elements that you associate to Kanban. And after that, pick the top 5, those that you think are important that you don't forget if you want to go on Monday and start experimenting with Kanban, for example. Sounds good? Everyone ready? All right, let's do it. I'm opening the rooms. Enjoy. It's your time. All right. Andy, Muideen, Robert, Tushari, do you guys were able to join? Do you need any help? Okay. Tushari, Robert, do you need any help? Mm-hmm. All right. Tushari, Robert, if you need anything, do let me know. I'm going to try to put you again in the room. If you click on accepting, you will be able to go to the room. There we go. Let's see. All right, let's let your team members know. All right. Let's see if we can join the team to see how everything is going right now. We can see here also in the mural board what's going on. We can see that they're filling out their stickies and sharing with each other key ideas. Looking quite nice. Okay, let's see. Pretty good. All right. Let's see what they're grading here. So it seems that the work in progress element was clearly understood. Evolutionary change, also fundamental. T-shaping, yeah, some of them are mentioning know your team capacity, very important. pull, not push fundamental. Great elements on that team. Let's see the rest of the teams here. Collaboration, pull system, feedback loops, visualize work, improve collaboration, explicit policies, improvable. All right. So a lot. So let's assign 0, 2, 3. Okay. There we go. Then what do we have here? Let's see, team 3, going in a more order way. Pull system, manage flow, visualization, making policy explicit, queuing system of continuous work. All right, so they're going pretty good. Very nice. So we might be ready to bring all of them back. All right. Let's see how long we have. We're in the last minute. So, all right. Hello. The teams are right now in a breakout room. They might be coming. Siri. Okay. Okay. All right. Okie dokie. So we will be having the teams back from the breakout rooms in just seconds. Okie dokie. Welcome, Stefan. Welcome, Srini. Teams are right now in the breakout room, just associated and sharing some key elements associated to Kanban after we have the first part of introduction to Kanban. Now they're all coming back right now. Let's admit, everyone. 10 seconds and they will be all coming back. All right. Awesome. How did that go? Anyone wants
It was work in progress. We'll do better in the next iteration. It was very good.
All right, awesome. Yes, so very interesting. Let's see if we actually limit the work. So let's just share here our screen very briefly. So just to let you know, so you get a view of what all your different team members had a chance to share. Maybe very quickly, should we go to team 1 and you guys can maybe share what were those 5 big items for you that you saw associated to Kanban? Anyone from the team? Great work, by the way, guys. Imagine that.
Does someone now go? Or?
Yeah, just come off mute and you can talk about it. Yeah, that would be great.
Cool. I mean, in our team, basically, we just brainstormed what everyone found useful, and then we clustered things together, and we didn't get to the point of choosing the top 5, unfortunately. But I'm guessing the things that were, had more clusters are kind of like our favorite ones. So incremental, I'm guessing incremental change, evolutionary change thing, and there was a bit about whip limit. That kind of seems to have quite a few votes, and policies, and kind of this T-shaping and cross-training was kind of the new ones that kind of came up. T-shaping being kind of like, having people with different skills so that they can help complete rather than start new things.
Exactly. Yeah, especially if you're going to have this restriction that you cannot take work in unless work is done. You got to make sure that you have the talent that's getting things done, right? So you don't have a bottleneck here. Yeah. Super. Thank you so much for team 1. What about team 2? Also a lot of great things here that emerged. Anyone wants to share?
Yeah, if any member or if any other team member wanna go for, okay, if not, I'll do it. Okay, so we gave the team time to just kind of put everything we wanted here for continuous flow and evolving and improving, retrospective, collaboration, and in the end, we went for the five that we put here: WIP limit, visualize flow, feedback loop, improve collaboration, and explicit policy. So we thought those are the best. That's the best one that we thought that represents this exercises for us.
Exactly. Super. That interesting new element also, right? Because sometimes in a Scrum, we don't like to talk about too much this policy part, but this is something that actually Kanban brings in. All right. And now let's go with the team 3. Thank you. Team 2, by the way, great. There, key elements. As you see, we're all converging on the elements, right? So anyone from team 3 wants to share those key elements that you associated to Kanban?
I can give it a go.
Okay.
Right. So we picked basically definition of done, and then we had, which is very similar, pull system and manage flow, visualization, making the policy explicit, and a WIP limit. As the ones we thought that were important. There was a bit of discussion around whether we have definition of done and a pull system and manage a flow, but this is what we've decided on at the end.
Which is actually, your guys are just going through straight to the pillars, right, of what Kanban is proposing. So yes, super. So I think I'm happy then. I think we're all kind of like converging on those key elements that actually, by the way, are proposed by Kanban. So all of you pretty much got them all. So thank you guys for that. So let's now then go to the second final part, right, which is actually making things happen, and it's making kind of what we call the Kanban board. And this is quite controversial, you know, because actually when I started working in Agile, I have to say I wasn't building properly the boards, especially when I came across Kanban. I started understanding how could I optimize the boards for my team. I follow Scrum, just to let you know, but I found in Kanban a lot of good opportunities to support better my team and actually to help them. Putting the work in progress limits and actually mapping better the process map or the value stream actually for my teams has been like really a game changer, just to let you know. So let's talk a little bit about the Kanban boards. So very interesting, rather than just having a form, you know, this is the backlog items, this is the sprint backlog, this is in progress, this is in review, this is blocked, this is done. Yes, some of and I'm here just mentioning the traditional columns, right, that sometimes Scrum teams use. What you're seeing here, and which nowadays the Scrum teams are also applying, especially those that are clear on their value stream, is that what you do is that you map the columns represent the different stages of your value stream, right? So imagine that you are delivering, I'm not going to put the case of a software, but you're delivering a program. Yes, because there's many people that say, well, I don't come from the software industry. How can I use this? Okay, you're delivering a program. You are delivering an entrepreneurial program. And then it turns out that actually that has different stages. It has a call out stage. It has then a discovery stage. It has then a building stage. It has a delivery stage. And then it has just a closing stage. Yeah. And in each of those stages, you can track, yes, the key work that you're doing. Yeah. So then that means that here at the top, you will have is those stages, right? So you have the call out, recruitment, the discovery, then the building, then the proper delivery or closing, for example. In this case, you might have something more associated to our software industry. So you can the key inputs, right? And then you have an analysis part, a development, a building part, a test, a release ready, and a release, right? So as you see, it's more detail, the different stages that the I'm just letting some of our team members in that the value stream that we're delivering have. So you can see, so actually Kanban just shows you the stages, okay, of the stream of value that you are generating. Yes, you have it divided. So that's one thing. So it's not model. Let me just mute here in case. Okay. So that's that first thing. The second thing, as you can see, is that it allows you also to see per each of the stages, yes, what is in progress and what is done. Yes. So you can see, you know, what's been done yet and what is in progress. Then comes the key thing that we're mentioning, okay, of the capacity. Okay. So as you see in here, for this team, the total allocation or the total capacity that there are that they know that they can work within their cycle, okay, is top 20 cards, no more than 20 cards. And as you can see, that's for the total, that's the total number of cards for all the stages, okay, 20. So that means that in input plus analysis plus development plus build plus test, they all must have 20 cards. And that means that nothing else is accepted unless one of these cards moves out, yes, and then generates a slot, yes, for a new piece of work to come in. But it's not that they already have this 20 and then they add 5 because someone else asked them to do 5 things and they just put it in and it just keeps a lot of work being just pushed into it. No, okay, they tried to move fast in a sense like, well, if there's new work that they want to let in first, they complete this one and then they let the next one in, okay? So it's not that they're not oriented to respond to the organization, it's just that they don't let the organization push the work in, okay? They pull the work that the organization have given them once they finish that key prioritized work, as you can see. Let me just let one of our team members here, Pia, okay? Moreover, as you can see, each of the column has clearly agreed by the team what is the amount of work that they are going to accept. For example, in Q, top 5 cars, okay? And if you could see across in here, in this case, I don't have the button one because I copy pasted it, right? But you could see that they should all add to 5. Okay, for example, here in 4, because I didn't cut the image here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 in here in total, in progress and in done, 4 cars, as you can see. In build, okay, the same. If it's supposed to be 5, it's 5. And you can see also, very important, that the cars vary in color because not all the cars have the same value. Okay, for example, if it's maintenance, okay, and the car has a value of 2 points, then wherever you have the color purple represents 2, right? So this also kind of like the work also has kind of a value or a t-shirt sizing, yes, what we were mentioning before. And what the team makes sure is that for the capacity, for the limits, for the work in progress limit that they set up for each of the stages, that they just comply to it. In their daily meeting, when they meet each other, they can inspect, they can adapt, they can, you know, overview things, okay, and agree. But once they start their cycle of work, the important thing is that they estimated their capacity, they made it clear across all the stages, and they seek to not introduce new work unless the work that has been agreed is done. Yes. So I don't know if you see the difference. And I mentioned this because even when I was a Scrum Master in my early times, I wasn't doing this. I wasn't helping the team to actually manage properly the incoming work. Sometimes I was letting my teams receive work or let the organization push work because I wasn't able actually to share with them the importance of having these working limits and us agreeing the different sizes of the work and complexity of the work and actually abiding by it, so the organization also is educated, okay, and all of us then can share practices. So that's so important.
Natasha,
Mm-hmm.
I think we got a few questions regarding this on the chat there.
Let's see.
Don't know if you want me to go through it or you can see it.
Yes. Okie dokie. So how do you do dot voting on the cards? What if no longer a priority and needs to pull other story? What about the card coolers? Is that an ownership card? Okay, super. So we're going to address some of this ones, and then the other ones I will ask you to put them in the parking lot so we don't lose them. So when we finish overviewing everything today, we can just go to each of them, okay? But I will attend some of them, okay? I'm going to go with push approach, just very quickly, and then I will ask you though to put the little card so we can just go with a pull approach at the end of the session. Yes. So basically, you do have daily meetings every day where you can review if there was a task or anything that becomes obsolete and we need to update it as a team. Yes, so you do have that. And the other thing is that you do have priorities. So as I mentioned before, the cards have prioritization. So my high priority, medium priority, low priority. It allows you to take care of those that are more relevant first. The important thing is that as you take care of the most relevant first, the limit of work. Yes, so just to let you know, the important thing is just to keep the limit of work. Okay. Then I had another question there. How do you do dot voting on the cards? Okay, so this you mean for which are the key cards that are going to be selecting? Okay, so you have a planning moment in which like the team comes together and overview what's going to be the work ahead. It doesn't have to. It is not norm how long that planning takes place. You know, it doesn't have to last 8 hours. It's up for the team to decide how much it lasts. So different from a Scrum, it doesn't tell you necessarily what's the amount of time. You know, each team decide whatever the timing of planning they want. And in that process, in that planning session, then they set out, you know, what's going to be the work for the cycle, and the cycle of work is decided by the team. Yeah. What are going to be the limits of work given our capacity and given the demand that we're receiving from the organization. So in that moment is when they set out what it's going to be their working or their Kanban board. Okay, just to let you know. For the rest of the questions, I will put that. I will ask you to be please for the team members to put it in the parking lot so we can answer them. And also, even sometimes if we cannot answer in the session, I always go back and I put you like the answers and references and everything, so you have that material. So I will ask you guys to put it in the parking lot for a second. Yeah, just because of time, just to let you know. Okay, so here's an example of another Kanban board. Yes, and more, you know, following kind of like our some of the approaches that we also have in our Scrum, right? Like, do not forget the themes and the epics. So this is why I like this one. So as you can see, you have different epics in the pools of idea, but then you have, for this case of this Kanban board, you can see here the stages of this value stream. So as you can see, they have feature preparation, feature selection, user story identified, user story preparation, user story development, feature assistance, deployment, deliver. So what you can start seeing here is that the Kanban board adapts to what are the stages of your value stream. So it's pretty process tailored. Yeah, and this is pretty controversial because within the Agile community, some people don't like actually this, because then they say, well, then I have teams with different Kanban boards with all the different processes and all of this, right? So bear that in mind, because actually Kanban likes that diversity and wants that to happen, wants for every team to actually have a board that is tailored to what is their process and just seeks to improve that process. Yeah. So this is something to have in mind, right? Because there's some people that might think, well, but actually we need to scale the organization and get it into better practice to stay in the processes that they have. How does that work? So have that question there. The other thing is, like, you can see this in the bottom here, which clearly states policies. And it's because they believe that these stages in the value stream are key. For example, feature preparation and feature selected, because they become so important for this team. They actually have set clear policies of what do we understand by feature preparation, how do we do it, how we prioritize it, how do we measure it, how do we select. Okay, so that it's clearly stated here. So you can also see here what are the stages in the Kanban board that are the most important for the team, because they are the ones that actually have clear policies and guidance, and the things are not left like undocumented or like not shared between the team members, unagreed. Like there is an agreement of what are the policies in these key stages. They are very important. So beyond the definition of done, by the way, beyond the definition of done is the policy. Okay, so as you can see, and that's very important because some of you that might be using for example Scrum, not necessarily you have policy in your team for key stages. Some of you do, and that might be because you have some components of the Kanban approach, because Scrum doesn't demand you that. Okay, super. So now let's go to the work in progress limit. Okay, which is basically the other key thing here to understanding the area of the fundamentals is how to limit the work in progress. Okay, so some of you, those that are starting, when we talk about WIP, okay, we're talking about just work in progress. As you see, it represents the number of tasks that are being worked on by an individual or team in a specific time. Yes, and this is very important because some teams might have cycles that are not 2 weeks, but are 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week. It depends on how you're defining your cycles of work. Yeah. Then the work in progress limits, as you see, there are always indicated in the Kanban board. Always. It's like, it's not a Kanban board if it doesn't have the work in progress limit. It isn't, just as simple as that. Okay, and it can be set either for the entire Kanban, as I show you in the first image. Okay, when we saw 20, for example, or for the, as you can see here, or for the individual stages, right? Also, ideal, please do not set intervals. Don't be cheeky. Set a work in progress limit. And it's like from 5 to 10. No, it's 5, it's 7, it's 10. What is it that you guys will agree, okay, in terms of the cards that you're going to be working? Now, the other thing, it allows the team to stabilize the work and increase predictability. So we know that for this working cycle that is 2 weeks, we're just going to do 20 cards, okay? And only when we finish that, we're going to keep on working on 20 cards per week, like, and only when we finish that, we do more work. If not, no. Okay, so it's like pretty predictable that. All of this has behind it what we call Little's Law, okay? And when we talk about Little's Law, there's a very simple way for us to start understanding. And it's that Little's Law seeks to tell us basically that the average lead time, it's equal to the average work in progress and the average throughput, okay? I got for you here a pretty cool video so you can see pretty quickly what we're talking about. And as you see, there's a lot of lean elements in Kanban, okay? So Kanban is just bringing Kaizen, continuous improvement, again in the organization, okay? And it's reducing muda or waste.
Is your system in chaos? Hi, I'm Mark Whipple. I'm here to tell you the one thing that you can do to get control of your system. Now, what do I mean by chaos? I mean things like resource shortages, priority battles, constant expediting, too much work in process, too much rework. Everything just takes too long. Little's Law is a very simple concept that will help you gain control over your system. Mastering this concept will arm you with the one thing that will improve your process, and it doesn't cost a dime. Now, why do we care? Little's Law teaches us that when we introduce work into the system faster than the current throughput, then queue times will increase. Aside from the wasted inventory and wasted investment in idle work, queue times are important because they are the most significant things to customers. Customers don't like waiting. Now, not only does that affect customers, it affects the people in the process. When there's too much workload, the work priority system breaks down, and that results in extra work sorting and resorting work. Managers spend all of their time in meetings figuring out what's the most important thing to do today, and then where is it? Resources, those who are responsible for doing the work, have to stop working on one thing, start working on another thing, and then come back and start working on something else. This task switching, we call this multitasking. It feels, and it is, chaotic. And both employees and managers are frustrated. The most common thing that we see, I say we, Pinnacle Strategies see, is that processes have too much work in the system, almost always. We see symptoms every day, and I say we, you and I.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there because he went through the key definition of Little's Law. And this is something that I just wanted you to have in mind, right? Because it's an excellent way for us to kind of like share with the team, okay, and help the team to actually be better. Because as you see here at the end, they want to deliver everything in the right lead time, but by them not putting limits to the work that it's coming into their work cycle, at the end, they're not going to achieve that goal. They're not going to deliver that goal to the organization. So Little's Law allows us to raise awareness to the teams that if they keep increasing the average work in progress, okay, as they haven't concluded with their throughput, like if they haven't had any changes in their throughput, then at the end, the lead time is just going to be bigger. So let's go also very quickly through this. So another key definition. So besides the one that we're mentioning, lead time, which is basically, as you can see, there's a difference between the lead time and the cycle time. Cycle time is when things are in progress, from progress to done. Lead time is when they're ready to start to done. So you can see also the difference on what cycle time, what is lead time. And let's remember that we want to reduce this lead time, yes, to be more competitive, faster in our delivery. So as you can see, here is another way to see it. If lead time is going from the order place to the order delivery, while cycle time is from the order received to the order delivered. And both of them are important for us to keep a track of, okay? Now, when we talk about the case of the throughput that you had before, I gave you here an example of how is it that you could measure throughput, okay? So when we're talking about throughput, we're saying that we're actually measuring is the total amount of work that is delivered in a certain period, yes? So we said that our cycle time is 5 days. How much work did we deliver in that period? That is the throughput, okay? So it's very, it's basic for us to kind of like learn about this, okay? And you have here an example. So consider a Kanban team whose throughput for each of the past 5 weeks was 3, 7, 4, 5, 6. And let's imagine these are cars. These are the cars. Given an average throughput of 5 tasks per week, right? So if you add all this up and then you divide it by 5, it gives you the average throughput. So the amount of work that is done in a certain period of time. In this case, the period of time, week, and the amount of work, you have them here shown with the cars, okay? So that's what the throughput is. And then finally, you have what it's called the work in progress. And we have here the basic formula for it. At the end, the work in progress, sometimes we calculate it by just taking the number of team members and actually divided it by the efficiency, okay? And when we talk efficiency, we're actually considering what's the number of days that that the work stayed in value add, what's the number of days that the work stayed in non-value add stages. And this is something that the team decide. When we did our Kanban board, the Kanban board had different stages in the value stream. Is that correct? Those stages, some of them generate value in a sense that something directly is created, while others are just to supervise, to check, to validate, to review. And those sometimes are called non-value adds, okay? So within the value stream, there are some stages that are called value adds, and this is decided by the team. What are the stages that generate value add? Because for some people, peer review of the code is a value add, and for other people, it isn't. Yes, it's a non-value add. So once you have the stages of your value stream, as a team, you decide what is going to be value add stages, what is going to be non-value add stages. And then through the formula that we saw before in the case of cycle times and lead time, we can learn how many days cars stay in those stages. And that kind of allows us to then calculate what we call efficiency. And that's something that actually it's part of the formula of work in progress. Don't worry, because in the mural material, I put for you especially some videos for you to just digest it on your own, because it also depends on the teams that you have, how you can calculate it. If some of you are working in the area of contracting and budget, for example, you can have a Kanban board and have a whip, but the calculus is going to be just different. But in general, all teams that are doing this work in progress, the simple way, the easy way, the one that we go, the fundamental way is this: number of teams divided by efficiency. Okay, the simple. Okay, the simple. Okay, this one, and this is how you can calculate it. So as you see, Kanban has a different approach with that. Just to close up, because of the time also that I'm seeing, there's in Kanban, like within Kanban, everything contributes to what is called a Kanban maturity model. And I wanted to make an emphasis on this because I feel like even though this is the fundamental, today we're having just an easy, a basic, a fundamental approach. I wanted you to see where this goes. So as you can see in the Kanban maturity model, you could see all the practices associated to Kanban, okay? So, and the key elements that it seeks to tackle, right? So relief from overburden, generate higher customer awareness, improve the customer service and the risk management, and ultimately achieve organizational agility and a culture of challenge. Yes. And you can see how actually Kanban wants to generate this maturity in the organization in an evolutionary and incremental way. So if an organization is in an oblivious stage, the idea is that Kanban takes it to a build for survival stage, a stage 6 in which you are the most mature. Also, as you can see here, Kanban with the evolutionary approach seeks to generate changes in what you call the value of the organization, okay? And going from this focus on who I am, what I do, and why I do it, to how we do it as a team, you know, how can we reinvent ourselves? So it seeks to basically help organizations move from individualism, yes, to more of alignment and shared purpose culture, yes. So that's very important. So Kanban not only seeks like to measure better, not only seeks to make more clear the value stream and the flow of the work, and not only seeks for us to measure it and limit better that work, and apply a pull system to the work, but it also seeks to improve through these practices the organizational maturity and the culture of the organization. Okay, and it's a bit of different approach. I bet that some of you already saw it. It's a bit of a different approach with Scrum, although it keeps some of the fundamental values that we have in the Agile Manifesto. All right, super. So I think to close up, I wanted us to have a try to building a Kanban board. Yes. So just to try to build ourselves a Kanban board. And what this would mean is that within a team, you will have to pick, okay, a process, and then you can build as a team a very simple Kanban board for it. And then we maybe come back and see it. And hopefully then you have, after this session, just a very, very basic understanding of Kanban. You can talk about it, you know, what values, practices, what it entails, and even how to build a simple Kanban board. So are you up for it? It would be just a 5-minute exercise for you guys to really just get your hands dirty with just creating a first Kanban board. How does that sound?
Great.
Great. All right. So let's open the rooms for you. And 5 minutes. Don't overthink it. What you're going to see that it's the most interesting thing is like the decision of picking a value stream, yeah, and figuring out what can be the stages for it. All right. So just enjoy it. Yes. So here we go. Let me just open the rooms. Here you go. Let me just put the timing also. Here we go. 5 minutes.
Natasha, while everybody's leaving, could you please post the link to your YouTube channel? Because I'm gonna rewatch this again because there are parts that I missed. Or
no problem. I will repost the YouTube video. Okay, and we will make a friendly YouTube video also, because I know that sometimes the sessions are long, and some members of our community ask if we could have just a little short version. So you have the long if you just want to see the whole workshop, and then the short one. Yeah.
I like the long ones. If people can't watch the whole one, I think they can, you know, skip. Don't overdo work on yourself. But anyways, thanks a lot.
Super. And the important thing is that also I'm gonna drop some resources that I didn't have a chance to fully put in the mural, but they're gonna be in the mural by tonight. Yeah. So don't worry.
Bookmark it then and look at it next week then. Thanks. Thanks.
A pleasure. All right. Let's see. So we have some. Guys, let me know if you're able to access the different rooms. Dee, Phoebe, Abby, Sandra.
I haven't been put into a room yet, so I don't think.
All right. Assign you. Assigning. Each of you, so you have your colleagues. There you go. Assigning you. Assigning. Here we go. There we go, Abby. Awesome. Okay. Puchelivane, do you have access? Phoebe, Mariana, do you have access to the breakout room?
No, I saw the message and I accepted, but it didn't break the room. Yeah, I didn't get into the room.
Let me move you, okay? So let's see.
Okay, thank you.
No worry. You should receive another just for you to give it a try. Okay. And we have team members also with 2 minutes left. Okay. Okay. Okay, okay. Let's see how everything is going for your team members. Right here. Kanban Boards. All right, that's all. Wow. All right, to do in progress done. Well, that doesn't say too much about the stage of the process, but there we go. Awesome. So everyone is giving their first try there, doing their best. Let's see the third team. Let's just give them a little bit more of a second here to see if they can. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see how everyone is. Yes. Yes, this is the same. Mm-hmm. All right. Great questions. See, let's bring them. Okie dokie. All right, so let's bring the team back. Let's bring them. Okie dokie.
You brought us back in here quite quickly. Okay.
I did. You only had 5 minutes.
We
Not
tried.
enough.
We could have done with more time, Natasha, for
Yeah.
this one.
5 minutes is not enough time.
Yeah, but 7 people in a group. Nah, no.
Life is so cruel.
I know.
Painful.
I know. We need a little bit more time for the dynamics. I do have to keep a hardcore deadline because today I have and a date with my husband at 5, so I do have to keep on time.
Okay. Is it possible to ask a quick question?
Yes, and actually we're gonna go also first through these experiences. Yes, we went in a room, we went to the Kanban, so let's actually just very briefly, it would be good for the different team members to go through their experience, 1 minute just to share with it. And then we're gonna go through the parking lot questions, which are very good questions. And we wrap up with any other questions that emerges. Sounds good?
Right.
Let me just share here, Ben, them very quickly. So team 1, team 2, and team 3, please let's take the next minute to kind of like share your impressions as you went through your Kanban board. Just to let you know, it was very interesting to see the dynamic because as you can see, some of you were kind of like mapping stages of a value stream, for example, like design, make, wrapping, shape. Yeah. And some of you were actually kind of like doing what sometimes we do in some Scrum boards, which is like to do, in progress, and done. And as you see, the to do per se is not like the stage of a process, right? So say the delivery of a pizza, right? The value stream mapping of that would be, getting the ingredients, then the second part like mixing and cooking, then the third part like baking, and the fourth part delivery. So as you see, there's a big difference into what are stages of a value stream, and I could put further material on actually how to do that, how to map value streams, and what is the status of work, work that is to be done, work that is in progress, work that is done. So there's a difference between the status of the work and the stages of a value stream. Yeah, so very interesting. I wanted just to make that point. So quickly, team 1, team 2, team 3, 1 minute. What happened? First here.
We just ran out of time.
Does someone want to explain? Come on.
We're a bit shy here today, huh? What was different here? Do you notice any difference with the Scrum when you do your Scrums? Anyone wants to share?
Yeah, obviously, having a different stages of value stream is one difference, big difference between the Scrum and Kanban in that sense. Having work limit for each stages is another one. We haven't shown in team 3, but we should have doing and done for each of those columns. So then it's more obvious that the work is done in that column as is ready to get pulled by the next column. And therefore we need to have a definition of done properly for each of those columns.
Thank you, Susan, because actually you hit on 3 things, right? On that 3-level analysis that Kanban will have. So it has the stages of the stream, then it has the status of the work, if it's active or if it's done or in progress and done, and then it has that or capacity that stage have to receive work, right? So it's like these 3 levels of information. And then besides that, you have the cars, which actually allow you to know what's the definition of done of that work, what is the size, what is the complexity. By the way, some of you ask if you count blockers, cards that are blockers as work in progress. And yes, you do. You count the blockers, the block cards as part of your work in progress limits. Yes, you treat it as any work, by the way. So that was a fantastic question put in the parking lot. Anything else that you want to share that you saw when you went into the board dynamic? All right, so I will go, before we wrap up the session, actually through the parking lot questions, okay? Through some of them very briefly. So is the throughput the same as the Scrum team's velocity, which is the amount of work that we do in a sprint, right? Yes, okay, so it's close to it. Just you have to bear in mind though, that the time, the cycle time, not necessarily is a sprints. So that comes to be different, like cycle time is defined by the team, right? So, but it's the amount of work that a team does in the cycle time that they define, yes? So it is somehow related to what we say in a Scrum, which is that that amounts of cars that we achieve in the sprint, yeah? That gives us an idea of our velocity, okay? How would you treat block tickets? Do they count in the work in progress limit? Yes, it counts. We treat block tickets like any work card, and they are part of the work in progress limit, just to let you know. You reminded me, I will put for you a great article that actually, by the way, I will put it just immediately here, says, talks a little bit about that. I will put it for you here. And so you have what are actually why this is done and how it's treated. Because actually yesterday I came across this when I was doing like the tidying of the Kanban of the team. Will not value add days include days that a card is blocked? Yes, once again, we treat block cards as any other work. Okay, so just for the 2 team members that this question emerged, super, I really recommend this resource that I will be putting here for you. Yes, for you just to check it out. For this team member, I will put. Could you at the end of the session summarize the difference between Kanban and Scrum? So very interesting. First, so really Kanban seeks to be a pull system, as I mentioned, and it allows to kind of depict the stages of the value stream, okay, of the value stream of the work. It limits the work also. So from that approach, the difference is that sometimes we can have in a Scrum a push system, especially if we don't have a work in progress limits. Nowadays, as a Scrum Masters, we have integrated work in progress limits. So we make sure that our Scrum is not a push system, but be careful because the Scrum doesn't set this necessarily in the Scrum framework. It is not demanded, right? So this is something that Kanban does demand, and that usually Kanban brought to the community. Yes, it's a present from Kanban, a gift from Kanban to the Scrum community. So that was a big difference. The other thing is that Kanban doesn't require all the events and all the roles that a Scrum requires. So as we know in Scrum, we have a product owner, we have a Scrum Master, we have developer and team, and each of them has a clear roles and responsibilities. We also have events, as sprint planning, as sprint retrospective, sprint review, daily Scrums. In the case of Kanban doesn't set those things. Like Kanban doesn't demand for the team to do the daily meeting or the sprint review or retrospective, right? The teams can decide when to have this, okay? But from an optimal point, supposedly the team will be able to know the status of the work through the Kanban board and what's being done, what is blocked, what is moved. So the necessity for meetings or events is lower. They actually should be having less meetings than a Scrum team, because Kanban actually reacts to a Scrum in this way. Kanban basically says like it doesn't make sense for for organizations to have these new roles like product owner, Scrum Master, or developers. It doesn't make sense for organizations to have all of this amount of meetings like daily Scrum, sprint planning, sprint review, a sprint retrospective, because there are organizations that have value streams that actually don't fit with that they cannot be having this amount of meetings. And they give the case of a bank in Spain that actually changed it from a Scrum to Kanban, and then they had less meeting and people were working more time, and they just had the same transparency through the board. As I mentioned, within the Agile community, it is very controversial, this thing of Kanban versus Scrum. I would recommend just to see them complementary, like what things can you take to make your team more agile and works better for your organization. For example, in my organization, Scrum works, but I've been in other organizations in which Scrum didn't work, given how big they were, and that meetings ended up taking too much time, and especially across the different teams. So it also depends how you are implementing the Scrum. Yeah, but just bear in mind those basic difference. It doesn't demand you roles. It doesn't demand you a set number of events. It just basically relies, if you have a work in progress, if you have a pull system, you know, and if you have the basic practices and policies that we saw, that's Kanban, and it's very different from the requirement that drives the Scrum. I will give you some resources for you to check out, whoever made this question. Pretty important question and good one. So thank you. Is the deadline on the work item a real customer commitment, or what the team estimated to comply? Very interesting. So it's supposedly we're doing here the estimation with customer orientation. So we should be making sure that whatever we deliver abides by the time that the customer expect, or that the organization has generated the expectation in the customer, right? So yes, ideally it is driven by the customer. Okay, so thank you for making that question. In practice, is there any value in sizing the work items, or not worry about it and treat them all the same? No, actually, in Kanban you have, it's just that today we're seeing just the basic Kanban, but you actually have different colors sometimes for the cards, and each of those represent different services and different levels of complexities and sizing of the work. Given that it's a more advanced subject, I will make sure to put here some resources for you so you check them out. Okay, so don't worry. Okie dokie. And is that an ownership tag? And what about the card coolers? Guys, what do you mean with this? What do you mean with the ownership tag and the card coolers, just to understand better?
I just copied from the chat because I think the person didn't put it there, so I don't know who put it there. Let me just see. I think that was from. Give me 1 second.
It was me, guys. It was
okay.
Color coolers, and I just wondered how the use of color tags on the cards was intended in the example.
Yes, Mario. So as mentioned, I will share that you are with your team member here in this part of the value sizing. So in Kanban, there's different colors for some of the cards. So some are yellow, some are orange, some are purple, and each of them like represent different services and like the complexity of it. So ideally, when you are doing the sizing, you try to identify, well, is this type of work one that is going to generate, that could generate a lot of cost if we don't have time, and that it's complex, it has high priority. So you evaluate different alternatives, and depending on that, you can signal with the color of the card what is that type of work that is entering the stages of the value stream. Okay, but we will have more of this because it's very detailed actually in December when we see the second part of the Kanban. Okay, but I will put already the resource for you if you want to go ahead and start trying it out. No problem. All right, team. So I know that it's a lot of first information.
Natasha, before letting you go, I think there is two more questions there. I don't know on the chat if you.
Let's see.
Yes, from D and from Petra. She put a very good thing about a Scrum Ban as well.
Yes. So where is the question? Because I cannot see it here, guys. Sorry.
I'll read it from you. What should one do if items that are already in progress but are waiting on a third party like procurement? Should the task remain in progress or move to the block swim lane?
Okay, very interesting. So if the task is blocked by third parties, it is still part of your work in progress limits, okay? So it means that if we agree that we wanted to make, we had to work 20 cards and that no card enters until one goes out, that one will be occupying a space, okay? Because it will be counting in the work in progress. And you know why? Because the intention of Kanban is to actually generate the sense of urgency in the team that they really must seek to think, strategize what they're going to do with this third party impediment. I know that this actually hurts in life, in real life, because in my team, sometimes some of the things are third parties that are blocking it are some executive decisions, some other team members that are having blocked that card, that work. But that card and that work is part of the work in progress. Okay, so imagine that right now you set a work in progress limit of 20. In those 20, that block card is counting, all right? And if nothing is moving, then it stays there. No work can come in, okay, even if that's blocked. You know why? Because the team shouldn't be leaving that in block. The team should be ideating and thinking what can be done to move that. And once that's solved, another piece of work can come in, and then the team could work on that. Yeah.
But Natasha, sorry, what I meant behind that question was, like, for example, third party like procurement could take about literally 3 weeks to gather that quote, for example, back to the team for them to move forward with. So I'm just wondering, did we then leave that? Because
it's going to affect the lead times.
Yeah.
That card is going to be there and you have to count it. You know what? Because this is what will start allowing the organization to see, okay, where the problems are, which is usually the interdependence, and force for the teams to integrate their stages in the value stream. And for that one that is delaying, okay, it would become more visible that they're the one delaying, and hence generate more pressure within the organization for these teams to start doing things better. You know, but sometimes by not measuring this, the impact that the third party is having in our lead time, yes, and our work, then, you know, it doesn't get seen in the organization. What happens with Kanban a lot of time is that this start occurring, that you start seeing a lot of who are the units that are delaying others, okay, and also start detecting, well, what are the possibilities to integrate the different stages in the value stream of the organization, okay? Just, okay. You know, but yeah, like from a process approach. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And what was the other question? The Scrum Ban.
Yes, it was just a mention, yeah.
Yes, Scrum Ban is a reality in many teams. Totally. Just to let you know, in my case, I started to introduce work in progress limits definitely into our Scrum. So we didn't have as I mentioned before, the value, we didn't have initially the map of our value stream. That's something that actually Canvas helped us do. We only have a division of the status of the work, you know, like backlog item, sprint backlog, in progress, review, blocked and done. So we changed that. So basically you have a board now with the different stages of the value stream, and then what is the status of the work and work in progress limits. It is, you can complement Scrum with a lot of elements of Kanban, but still, just to let you know, those that are pure Kanban practitioners, what they don't like of a Scrum is that we have the different meetings set, like the sprint planning, the sprint retrospective, the sprint review, the daily Scrum, because they don't think that you should force the team to be doing all these meetings, and that some value streams don't need them with the frequency or with the roles of the formalities that we have. Okay, so just to let you know. All right,
Thank
team.
you.
I have to make a hardcore stop, but thank you so much for always coming. Yes, I will share I made the recording. I will share the materials, and I'll see you in the next session. And thank you so much for our amazing facilitators, really, Guy, Nish, Bansi, for helping us out. Thank you so much, and see you in the next session, okay? We'll share the materials. Remember to share your your expert views with the community, okay? So we can learn from each other, what you like, what you didn't like, so we can keep learning from each other, okay?
And the materials, Natasha.
Thank you. Bye. Awesome.
Stuff. Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye now.